Welcome to another edition of the Goalpost. I'm your host, Oluwamayowa. I'm not alone. I have two major world stars with me. I call them major world stars. They will be the one breaking down Lolua and I have Temilolua and Kiki. Temilolua, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good and fine. How about you? It's really nice to be back, though.
I'm fantastic. I know your team played during the midweek, but we are going to get there as time goes on. Kiki, how are you doing?
I'm fine, sir. Great to be here.
Um,
Thank
I,
you very much
I,
for
I,
this.
I know it's an exciting week for you. I mean, your team did, did,
Seven
did,
points, 7 points
did
clear at the top.
yeah, did so well. Your team did so well, and I'm beginning to wonder if this will be the time that you will probably get to win the league.
When we touch it, I will believe it. Until then, we just keep taking it one game at a time.
That's interesting. Okay, but in any case, before we get into that, let's start from the local scene. Let's start from Nigeria. A whole lot has been said as regards um, our own Paul Onachu. It seems Alila seems to be interested in Paul Onachu. They want to bring him to Saudi Arabia, and this deal is worth over 13 billion naira per year. I mean, that is a life-changing money. I'm wondering why I wasn't playing football. I'm wondering why I'm doing this and not playing football. I think maybe it's a bit too late, but let's get into it. Saudi Arabia club Al Hilal has identified Super Eagles informed striker Paul Onachu as a top transfer priority for the upcoming summer window. Reports have it that Onachu has enjoyed the sensational campaign with Trabzonspor this season, effectively taking the Turkish Super League by storm. He has been the driving force behind Trabzonspor climb to third place, contributing a remarkable 18 goals and 2 assists in 21 games. That's about 19 contributions in 21 games. The Nigerian international is once again looking like a clinical, cold-blooded goal putcher that dominated the Belgian League while playing at Genk. This clinical performance have naturally caught the eye of several foreign clubs, but a new report suggests that Saudi Arabia side Ahli are prepared to pay a premium to spare his service. According to Turkish outlets, Al Ahly are considering offering Onachu a staggering annual pay of 13 billion naira. That's about 8 million pounds
Yeah.
yearly. This represents a significant payday for his career, effectively quadrupling his current earnings at transfer. The former Saudi champion are bracing up for potential departure of striker Ivan Toney and believe Onachu will be a Nigerian replacement as far as his cost-effective replacement. I mean, Kiki, what do you make of this? I mean, there is a Paul Onachu that Al seems to be interested in him. Paul Onachu is just about 26,
Yeah.
and a whole lot of people remember when the case of Victor Osimhen happened, where where a lot of people were wondering why Osimhen wanted to go to um, Saudi Arabia. Do you think at 26 Onachu should be leaving Europe and going to Saudi Arabia? I mean, a lot of people say Turkey is the back road of European football. What do you make of this?
Wow. Okay. So it's a question of ambition. So the first thing is this: Paul Onuachu is not 26. At least I think he's 30. He's 30, bordering on 31. Actually, that is Paul Onuachu's age. From what I've checked, should he leave Turkey? It's a question of ambition. So this is the way I'll take it. I'll take it from what I think may be his perspective, and then I will take it from my perspective as a fan of the Super Eagles. Paul Onuachu, okay, I'm age 30, I'm earning 2 million euros per annum in for Trabzonspor, right? Trabzonspor are currently third in the Turkish Super League. So if I continue on current form, we'll compete in Europe next season. Do I want to compete in Europe? If the answer is yes, he stays, right? But you also need to think, at age 30 playing in Europe, does it really matter? No matter how hard he tries, is he going to walk in and be second choice even for the Super Eagles? Right? I mean, that is another perspective you're looking at. Like, I'm we are looking at AFCON in the next 2 years, right, in Kenya. I want to be fit. Do I want to play? Right? Those are the things that I think will factor into his thinking before he makes a decision in the summer. 8 million euros per annum is not anything to sneeze at, especially for you know when you consider the significant increase. Right, they will quadruple his wages. That is not money to sniff at. So is money his primary motivation? Is competition his primary motivation? The truth of the matter is, no top European club is going to be coming for Paul Onuachu anytime soon. So, he can put that to bed.
Okay, so I mean, you should be looking at going to Saudi Arabia and making money, right?
Yeah, I think that would be his primary motivation. I think that should be he. Well, not making money, well, money, yeah, for sure. No footballer doesn't want to be paid what they are worth. But if I were him, I take the deal. Right? I'd consider all these things and take the deal. If money is his motivation, if his motivation is be competitive, play in Europe, then Trabzonspor is the way to go. 18 goals in 21 league games, 20 goals across competitions this season. The man is making Osimhen look like a second-rate striker. Sorry to say, but you know, yeah, yeah, yeah. But Al the Saudi Pro League is not as competitive as the Turkish league. No matter how much money they pour into that league, the league's quality will rise over time. But again, his motivation, money or competition. Then for the Super Eagles, will I get a shoe in? Like, will I be at least second choice? Because Osimhen is first choice. So those are the things that will factor into his decision whether to move or to stay. If I were him, I'd move, but you never can tell.
Okay, Temilolu, what do you make of this of this particular news? I mean, a whole lot of people have been coming out to say you should go for the money. 13 billion naira is not a small money, and we all know that these players, they play for money, and I mean, when the issue of Osimhen came up earlier, a lot of people were advising him to go to Saudi Arabia and make the money. That what is he playing football for if it's not to make money? So what do you make of this particular news of Al Ahly, having interest in him to come to Saudi Arabia?
I think at this junction, he should just take the offer. If I have to be completely honest with you, he has tried outside Turkey. His stint at Southampton was a very terrible one, and nobody even expected that he would bounce back the way he's bouncing back now. But I think he's getting to a point. He's not getting any younger, and I think he has nothing to prove at this point in time because he was performing well enough at Trabzonspor before he went to Southampton. Then he got back to Trabzonspor and he's still delivering the goals, which means that it is there in him. So going to Saudi Arabia for me is not an issue, considering age and considering that Saudi Arabia is definitely it is growing and definitely they need players to make it better. So when Cristiano Ronaldo went to Saudi Arabia, yes, it was summer, but then you can see players are trooping in now and it's getting better and better. So the extent that even Saudi Arabia are recruiting 18-year-old players from Europe. So I think Saudi Arabia are green momentum. They are almost there. They are getting there. But for Paul Onuachu, I think it is very, very important that he takes the next step of his career at this point in time. And he has to be very careful with it because he has gone to Southampton, left Turkey, it didn't work out. So he has to be very, very cautious of the next step he's going to take because he is a very, very specific kind of striker that you have to play to his strengths because he's more like a giant. So he's not like our usual nines. So he's a very unique nine. So he has to be careful for the next move he's going to make. And I think going to Saudi Arabia would be much more better for him. And also for the Super Eagles, I think going to Saudi Arabia doesn't deter his invitation to the Super Eagles. If he goes to Saudi Arabia and is banging in goals, definitely there's no reason why he shouldn't be called up if he's banging in the goals. So that's just my take on it.
Well, that's very fantastic. But I mean, Kiki, we are looking at you know, building up a team that has quality, and so far so good. We've seen that Paul Onachu has been banging in the goals. Don't you think going to Saudi Arabia will take away from that? Because I mean, we want our team to have players that are competing at the highest level, and like you alluded, the Saudi Arabia, irrespective of the amount of money they've pumping, is not is not as quality as what we have in the Turkish league. What do you make of that? Yeah, Kiki, are you there?
Well, um, it depends. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I
Okay, please go
can.
ahead.
I picked up. I heard your question perfectly. I said it depends, and yeah, it depends on the player. Right? This all depends on Paul. Look, the Saudi Pro League, we know what it is. We don't need to go on about the general perspective of the Saudi League. I believe that league will eventually be competitive, no problem. Do I want our strikers playing in the Saudi League? Not necessarily. But in Paul's case, again, you need to consider no top European club is actually going to look for him. And you also need to rumor is that he's worth about 10 million euros, which I feel is paltry. But Al can pay 10 million euros in their sleep, right? So Champions will be looking at it and thinking, we have a striker who is on form, will most likely qualify for Europe. We can get 10 million euros and 2 million euros off the wage book. We can invest in a younger striker and Paul gets quadrupled wage increase. I think they are winners everywhere you look, financially from in this transfer. The questioning again is, does Paul want to stay in Europe and compete? If the answer is yes, he turns down the offer. If the answer is no and he wants a significant windfall at the end of his career, then he signs the contract, takes the check, and he's off to Saudi. Do the Eagles lose? Not necessarily. I think we have enough firepower up front. Osimhen still has another 7 8 years left in him. Ademola Lookman is still available. Aqua Adams is of the younger age profile. I think we're in good hands for that forward role, that centre forward position. So, Onachi moving to Saudi, I don't think it negatively affects the Eagles as much as we think.
Okay, that's fantastic. So for Temiloluwa, I mean Kiki said something that's very very important. I mean he's 30 already, and if you look at the I mean Harry Kane left for Bayern Munich at the age of 30.
Yeah.
Does it not put a bad light on our own striker that at 30 no club seems to be interested, no top club seems to be interested except a club in Saudi Arabia. Yes, they're going to pay him more money, but I mean Saudi Arabia is not the all in all of football.
Wow. Um, Look, Saudi Saudi Arabia is what it is, but Hurricane puts most modern strikers to shame. So Hurricane is a bit of an extreme example. I hope you understand what I mean. Like, Hurricane is better than 96, 97% of strikers in world football. So comparing Hurricane to Paul Onuachu is comparing apples to oranges. Uh, no, sincerely. So that's not a fair comparison. Uh, the, I suppose the where you will be thinking of it, where you be who you be comparing Paul to is his contemporaries in the Turkish Super League. He's the best striker in that league currently. It's not even close, right? I mean, on form is better than Osimhen. So that says a lot. The
So
problem is he's peaking now. Like, he if he had peaked at an earlier age, right, then this discussion will be much different. But age 30, Trabzonspor are not, they are not traditional. They are a big club, but they're not one of the biggest clubs in Turkey. His prospects are not as good as Hurricanes. Hurricane was leaving Tottenham. No disrespect to Trabzonspor, but they are not Tottenham, right? And Onachu is not Hurricane. As for beaming a searchlight on the Super Eagles that our old strikers are not moving from one big club to another, the issues around that go beyond just football. So I think it's a good move actually all round. I'm in support of this move, right? But like I said earlier, the decision firmly and squarely rests in his hands. Do you take the windfall, or do you stay in Europe and play possibly Europa League or Conference League football next season? The choice is his. So
Temiloluwa, I mean, does he take the win for, or he stays in Europe and continues to play in the Conference League or Europa League? I mean, Trabzonspor, it seems their performance at the moment will get them into Europe. Do you think he should just leave and just take the win for? He's 30 already. Why not start thinking about retirement?
Okay, so first and foremost, let's first address the fact that in the next maybe 2-3 seasons, Trabzonspor might not win anything. They might not win any trophy. So let's just be honest with ourselves. They might just be contesting. We have the likes of Galatasaray investing heavily. You have the likes of Fenerbahce investing heavily, and then you have Trabzonspor. And if you're playing, you're supposed to be playing for trophy. If you're not playing for trophy, you play for the money, even though you can play for both. So I think in this context, he can take the move to Saudi Arabia. And let's not make it look like Saudi Arabia is a dead league. We have players in Saudi Arabia that are even playing for their national teams and they are playing well. So let's not make Saudi Arabia look like a retirement league. You understand? Because we have younger players there. So I just feel like he has to be very, very careful about making his move. You understand? So it doesn't end up being like Aroko Dari, you understand, who was very eager to want to make a move and then he joined the Wolverhampton side that is obviously being relegated now. So he has to be careful about the next move. In as much as we want him to stay in Europe, in as much as we want him to contest in Europe, if he joins the wrong club in Europe and he underperforms, he's never going to be in the Super Eagles again. Understand? But since he's performing like this at Trabzonspor, there's a higher chance that if he goes to Saudi Arabia, he will still maintain this momentum. And maintaining this momentum also gives Nigeria options. You understand? Let's be honest with ourselves. Our Nigeria strikers are underperforming at the moment. You understand? We can say yes, we have people like Akko Adams. Go and check Akko Adams' stats. He's not actually the best. I think among our Nigeria strikers, the person with the best statistics this season is Paul Onachu. And then you have Osimhen. So if he's making the moves to Saudi Arabia and he's able to keep up delivering this amount of goals, I think he doesn't have any problem with the Super Eagles. You understand? The most important thing is all about performing, and that should be the yardstick to him being invited. So I think going to Saudi Arabia would be a good move for him because obviously his age, you have to put into context his age. I saw that you brought in a picture of Harry Kane into the context.
Yeah.
Harry Kane is just a different case study on his own. You understand? Even Harry Kane at 33 would still have a Barcelona offer. But would Onachu at even 30 get an Atletico Madrid offer? Let's be honest with ourselves. We need to actually weigh the options that Onachu himself has. What top European club is after Onachu? Let's put that into context first. Then when you realize that there are not so many top clubs after Onachu, there are clubs that you can go to and then flop up like the way he did at Southampton. So I think taking the Saudi Arabia offer is not just about money. You understand? It's about recognition, because for Saudi Arabia to go for you means that you are doing something good. Let's put away the fact that yes, they are blowing money. They are not blowing money on players that are not performing. They are blowing money on players that we know that they know that okay, if we bring this player, it can actually improve our league. You understand? And it is a thumbs up to Onachu that yes, he's being considered at least to give the project a face, a new face. You understand? And to give the Saudi Arabian defenders challenges, because he is a very, very top striker. So I think going there is not just about money, it's also about him being visionary, because he can go to Saudi now and then start racking in goals, getting trophies, 1 or 2 trophies and the likes. But in Trabzonspor it will be difficult. If he's to remain in Europe, what top clubs will go for Onachu? That is also a question mark that we need to consider. in this back and forth.